Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over a bunch of teams for the new system of Explorer added in version 4.6 of Gems of War. Of course, this system ended up bringing in a lot of new difficulties for the Explorer system. However, the first 3 and difficulty 12 are pretty much the only useful ones. So I'm going to be showing a bunch of teams from everything from ultra expensive stuff that uses Zuul'goth all the way to really cheap things that can run the 1 difficulties and farm them for souls or just for resources in general. If you want to use it more like the previous challenge system or more like the previous Explorer system. I will be mentioning a bunch of metal builds for every single one of these teams as well. There will be a couple of them that I probably will not have the medals for, but I still just wanted to mention what their more optimal medal setup would be if we were to have all of them. The main ones that we're really missing, of course, are the badges or the more so the medals of Nishas, as these are relatively rare and can take quite some time to actually farm up. However, every other instance of it we should be able to have and show for this video. But anyways, let's get into this. I believe this is about 9 teams. I will be having them in the description with all of their medals and everything as well. If you just want to go and copy paste them and then just put the medals in, they'll be mentioned in the description and in the comment section below in the exact same order in which I go over them. Also, we will be using absolutely every single one of these teams as well as we show them. So let's go right into Explore, of course, difficulty 12, and of course to a kingdom that has 20% bonus. If you're doing difficulty 12, you're 100% of the time want to go for a kingdom that has 20% bonus, as one of the biggest rewards from doing specifically difficulty 12, aside from the token, is the fact that you're getting so many myth stones, which brings you closer to being able to get those tokens. So being able to get 20% on that is extremely important. Obviously, if you're doing something like difficulty 1, 2, or 3, if you're farming it more like the old Explorer system as the challenge system, or simply for soul farming, you're likely just going to want to do it based on the trait stone and not necessarily go for the 20%, as obviously 20% would have a lot less impact to 3 to 10 compared to something like 71 to 75. So you'd most likely want to go to the trait stones in that case. However, you could always want to go for the 20% in the difficulty 12 instance. Anyways, let's get into the very first and ultra expensive team here, in which we run the +8 attack with 20% mana start, using Mountain Crasher as Titan, High King Irongut, Zuul'goth, and Leprechaun. This is the most expensive team that we will be showing, and everything from here forth will be getting cheaper and much more accessible. One thing to also note, if you're watching this on this exact week of which the video is coming out, is High King Irongut is actually available right now in Soulforge. So if you happen to get 4,000 diamonds before the end of the week, and you don't currently have High King Irongut, you would definitely want to consider getting him, as he is extremely meta at the moment for pretty much everything, most notably Delves and the new difficulty 12 Explorer system. So highly advised to go and get him if you don't currently have. Of course, the main thing with him that makes him decent, though he's not wanting to do it right now, is he has a Devour chance based on his attack. And in higher level content, after you get 1 single Devour, you are going to be at what is likely 100% Devour rate. So you'll easily just be able to kill everything out. And now, since he has a Devour rate based on his attack, is over 100 attack, and now every single time we cast him, you will have 100% chances to devouring everything. And that's pretty much the whole premise with him. And of course, Zuul'goth, main premise that we're using in him in this team is the fact that he can instant kill everything except for the 6 dooms that have indestructible. So do be careful around kingdoms that do have the 6 doom. I actually completely forget what they are off the top of my head, but the 6 doom kingdoms could potentially give you a option that both Irongut and Zuul'goth can't really touch. However, you can use the skull spam off of Zuul'goth to try to kill it. Other than that, of course, Leprechaun and Mountain Crusher are just used for quick mana accumulation in order to feed the Irongut and the Zuul'goth, and our +8 attack is just to get everything rolling quicker and to make our skulls more effective. And the 20% mana start, pretty unique in that Zuul'goth doesn't really have any proper way of being able to mana start him, given that he's a boss. So the only thing that you could have really done prior is use a hero class that has a 15% mana start, but you'd have to go completely out of your way in order to do that. But now you can just give him a 20% mana start, which makes Zuul'goth quite more powerful than he has been in the past, given that he actually has an accessible mana start option, whereas before he didn't really have one. Same kind of goes with High King Irongut, in that it doesn't really have a proper mana start, at least currently, but now with the 20% mana start it does, which makes it even more effective than it was in the past. So next up, we have ourselves a Irongut team again. However, this one is focused solely on Irongut and making the cheapest possible team that just is completely focused around Irongut, which of course is also in Soulforge right now. Quite conveniently, given that he is so useful. He came in at probably the most perfect time, the week right after the update, where he just became even more important than he already was. But we'll go get the convert there. Go and get ourselves the hit here. Also, we will be showing teams that don't use Irongut, by the way. We will be getting cheaper to the point where it won't even use any Mythics at all. Get to some of the other teams. Right now, it's going to want to try devouring something that can be devoured. One slight off thing with Irongut, of course, is that he is at a bit of a disadvantage to things that have Impervious, for example, since they have immune to devour. However, that is the reason why we are currently using Mirage Queen on this team, or any curse option for that matter. We just happen to use Mirage Queen in this particular instance. But the whole point of course, Mirage Queen on this team, other than the fact that it can skull spam some, which could potentially speed up the battle. But the main reason is it has a curse, and what a curse allows us to do is remove any kind of immunities. So what we can do right here is simply cast this. This will put a curse on it, which gets rid of its immune to everything, which you can see we just ended up getting a stun on it because it also got rid of its immune to stun. But the main thing that we did that curse for is to get rid of its immune to devour. So we can simply just go and devour it with the High King Irongut to allow him to one-shot everything in the game, with the only exceptions, of course, again, being the 6 dooms that exist throughout the kingdoms. Okay, next up, we have ourselves another same badge setup, 8 attack into 20% mana start. This one is kind of the same premise as the first team, whereas the first team we use Zuul'goth and Irongut. The second team we use just Irongut. This is the same thing, except this time we are using just Zuul'goth. So the whole premise here is pretty similar to the Irongut, except that it's slightly more expensive, but it allows us to basically bypass any immunity. Unfortunately, we do not have any immunities to show it off on this battle, but of course, Zuul'goth can break through Impervious. Whereas, while you technically can do that with an Irongut, you would have to go out of your way to curse it, whereas a Zuul'goth would simply be able to do that immediately. Of course, Zuul'goth is the hardest troop in the entire game to obtain, but he has been out for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now, so some people are probably getting a bit closer to be able to craft him. And while he is a pretty hard thing to obtain, you do eventually get grinded to the point where you can obtain him. And he is still a pretty viable option, becoming pretty much more viable by the day. He's a pretty good higher level content, given that he has a decent instant kill option that's spammable. And is definitely something to consider working toward with all of your orbs if you're still trying to find some kind of other late game grind to go for, other than the fact of all these medals that we now have to grind. But it is a good idea to work towards Zuul'goth. If you're just spamming your blue orbs or something, it is worth considering picking him up eventually. He's not really required since Irongut can do pretty much most of the things that Zuul'goth can, but it's still advised to eventually pick him up as a option. Next up, another thing running the exact same build of 8 attack, 20% mana start. Really powerful build, since it helps with skull spam and it helps with just giving mana to your entire team. So here is finally one that does not use a single mythic. It is slightly risky in that if your hero dies, you could potentially lose, but the whole premise of this is no mythics whatsoever, only 1 legend, and we're essentially running this in order to try to get up Mank to a point where we can just auto-win. So we are going to want to end up rushing Mang. We have a mana accumulation, of course, off of Leprechaun that we can end up utilizing for that. You do want to be taking Brown as much as you can. In these game modes, your hero is likely within about 2 to 3 shot range or so, possibly even 1 shot if you're doing this way earlier on in the game. So you want to be really careful and constantly keep taking Browns, as that will allow you to get barrier, and it will allow you to not die, which is extremely important. But right here, we're just going to go and get our Mang down. Since there's no skulls or anything that we need to be taken or can take, we are simply just going to go and use Queen Jezebel constantly on our hero. This will hit through any kind of immunity traits that they have, such as skull reduction or agile, and similar things. It'll also raise our attack some, raise our armor some to keep it a little bit more alive, and feed a little bit of mana to everything. While we haven't been able to utilize it yet this battle, you can use a bunch of various utility troops here, depending on exactly how you want to go about it. In this particular instance, we are using a Fist of Zorn Empowered, which will convert yellows to skulls, and also give us a little bit extra attack if we haven't already hit the Mang. So right here, we're basically just going to want to constantly keep using Queen Jezebel. Another option to consider is even double up on Queen Jezebel if you want to go down that route. But I figured I'd show with only 1, as it is cheaper to only use 1. and we just keep getting our hits down. Obviously, as we keep higher attack, you can go for a little bit of a skull spam option. We want to go and switch it up. Right here, given that it can't kill us, we're going to go and Mang and then just take a skull, and I'll kill it out. And that's pretty much what you have to do. A little bit risky, given that if you lose your hero, could be a little bit bad. But it's among one of the cheaper teams that you can end up doing that can effectively end up taking out level 12s. Next thing, let's go and switch to next one that we have here. This one is, of course, some standard truffles. I do not have the magic ones. I'm pretty sure barely anyone has 4 or 3 of the metals of the magic. I forget what they're called. But yeah, they're relatively rare. Take a while to grind. So given that we don't have that exact build, I guess we'll just go into a little bit of magic. And just in case I didn't see what perks they have, I guess a little blend or something. Could go for life to make it a little bit safer too. But main thing that you'd want for this team, obviously a little bit more magic in order to be able to go and do quite a bit more damage. One other thing that we're going to want to do, since this will also be able to give us more magic for this particular battle, is we are going to want to go and switch our Titan. So normally Titan you run with something like all of his immunities that he has on his final trait. However, there are some really niche instances where going for the elemental bonus is better, and this is one of those very, very niche instances, and that we will be able to go and give our 2 Gobtruffles a bunch of extra magic every single time we go and cast a spell. This will be able to stack them up to be a lot higher damage. Obviously, if we had those extra magic things, we'd actually be able to have it 11 higher than this. Currently, I only have +1, but you could, of course, potentially have a +12, which would exponentially increase the speed of this team. While I obviously haven't currently been able to test this team with a +12 magic, it could potentially be one of the quicker options that are out there. One other option, if you don't necessarily want to go and use a 20% mana start like we are right now, is you can go for a Mirage Queen. Also go and give your Gobtruffles to half mana start, and at that point you might even be able to ditch the hero, but this is what we're currently running with, and let's go and run it. So of course, general premise of this is Forest Troll into Gobtruffle, and you basically just infinite into auto win, and everything from there is basically just trying to make the team go quicker. So right here we're just going to go and get ourselves a full Forest Troll, and hopefully that will not miss. Unfortunately, a green there, which may increase our chance of missing right there, and we do miss the extra turn. But once we get this thing going, we should auto-win. As long as this doesn't miss, that should be match, and we just won. So we just got our start of our infinite Gobtruffle loop. Basically, just allows us to constantly keep casting. As you can see, we keep gaining 1 higher magic every single time due to the perk that we have on our Titan. You can use other hero classes. However, given that Titan is among one of the most viable, if not the most viable hero class in the game, it is the most likely hero class that you have the +1 magic thing on, off the elementals. If you were to have it on anything, you likely have it on your Titan. And even if you don't currently have a level 100 Titan or any level 100 hero class that has +1 magic to elementals, Titan would be your best option to consider it, since Titan is viable for pretty much everything in one way or another. But obviously, Truffle's pretty standard team these days, ran for a lot of things, particularly higher level content, mainly because it's the most consistent infinite in the entire game. Still really surprised they haven't tweaked this at all, but yeah, it's still really good, and it's going to be even better if you ever get around to getting +12 magic for it. Of course, that was just with 1 extra magic bonus, but 12 would be even quicker, possibly even one of the quickest, if not the quickest options. Finally have all that magic. For now, while you don't have the magic, it's definitely a bit slower than like the Zuul'goth teams and the Irongut teams and stuff like that. However, once you have that 12 magic, it's potentially going to be the absolute quickest. That's pretty cool. Anyways, that's a good majority of the ones that you can run for higher content. Definitely not everything, obviously. There's a bunch of skull spam you can run. There's other upscaling troops like Tesla, Ketris with Yasmin's Pride, and other similar things. But I figure these are the more consistent ones and some of the cheaper ones that you have as options out there. But anyways, of course, that isn't the only thing that you can use the new Explore system for anymore. We also have, of course, the level 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3 is a pretty nice addition, as this brings back a few things back to the game. Given that we ended up getting the removal of challenges and the whole Explorer rework and all that, we kind of lost some of the capabilities, but we basically got them back in this most recent patch. And what I mean by that is we can now EXP farm again, we can now soul farm again, and we can now quick kill properly again. Well, I guess we technically could have last patch, but you can quick kill even quicker because difficulty 1 is actually lower stats than what challenges were back when challenges were ultra easy to spam. So kind of interesting change there. Plus you can also work towards token and other similar things you're grinding. But anyways, 3 primary teams that we're going to be showing for that. Pretty standard ones for the most part that many of you have probably seen before, but I do want to go and mention them as they are still really viable. And before I forget, let me go for the armor. So for this one, we are going to be running pure armor as we are running Rowanne. Rowanne, of course, gains very large benefit from having a large amount of armor. In particular, it's going to be gaining 48 damage from having these 24 extra armor as a gain place to boost ratio for all the armor. Regardless of what point you are within the game, this is a substantial increase to your amount of damage. This is also extremely accessible to gain, given that Rowanne is obtained for free from the Kingdom of Forest of Thorns as you finish out that quest line. And this, of course, is obviously the common metal, which is the easiest to obtain metal. So with that combination, it should be a pretty easy setup to be able to build. Of course, you don't necessarily have to use all these aspects. Really, literally, hero with anything that's not blocking Rowanne. Rowanne, a mana generator, and some other kind of assisting mana generator is all you really need to make this team function at this low of level. You run it at level 1, 2, or 3, depending on what your stats are. Really just depends on what your stats currently are. Obviously, if later on or earlier on in the game, you might want to run it on difficulty 1. And if later on in the game, you could probably start going to difficulty 2 or 3. Will still be able to keep up the full pace and not slow down at all. But obviously, this is for the purpose of very quick kills. Next one I wanted to show, of course, is the life version of this, which of course uses Sunbird. So this will end up using 3 of the green ones over here. So not all 3 of these. This, of course, giving Sunbird a bunch of damage. Not as much as a Rowanne, but this does end up giving Sunbird a 24 additional damage. One other nice thing is, given that these are badges, these will keep going even after Sunbird ends up going down from death. So you will still be able to maintain those bonuses. But anyways, this is basically just going to be running the same general premise of the team that we just run. This, of course, is centered more around the Sunbird. All we really have to do here is Firebomb. That will ideally give us a full Sunbird due to Mirage half manaing our team. And it was go and kill it out and dead. So simple as that. Obviously, was to win ultra quick. And soul farming. Soul farming is something that in the most recent patch, it was nerfed more than any time in the history of the game. It was lowered probably like 10,000, 15,000 per hour. However, that was brought back to pretty much its full rate. I still feel like it's slightly slower than it was like back when we could just spam a challenge. However, it's still decently quick. Definitely way quicker than before, and pretty much back to its normal, extremely quick rate. There are several different ways that you can run this team. Generally, you do want to make sure whatever you're running it against, whatever difficulty you're doing it on, that Dragon Soul will take 3 casts in order to kill out the enemy. So right here, we'd actually technically want to go to a difficulty 2. I guess we'll still just it's fine for now, but generally you're going to want to do it in an instance where Dragon Soul will be casting 3 times. The main reason for this is just to be able to reach the max capacity of souls. And the general premise of this team is just Dragon Soul with anything that can assist it with souls. So Dragon Soul, anything with necromancy, and basically a Purple Storm is the general theme of the game of the team that you end up building. You can also end up opting for things like Leprechaun last slot, Hero with Purple Storm, Hero with Red Storm, and over top the Ferrous Raws. Obviously, Ferrous Raws' main reason for these are 150% mana start, but they can be replaced with anything with Necromancy. Azarus being the best Necromancy option, however, you can go as cheap as anything that you can get your hands on as Necromancy. So like Warlock being, I believe, the absolute cheap currently right now, as it is a rare that has Necromancy, I believe, on its 2nd trait. I think it was 2nd. But anything with Necromancies would. Anything basically that would boost up your overall souls is what you're trying to aim for. Of course, depending on your really specific team, it could vary. But these kind of teams that run Dragon Soul with a bunch of soul assisting things behind it can run anywhere from about 20,000 to 50,000 souls per hour, and could even reach slightly above 50,000 souls, depending on what various bonuses you have, and if you have double Ferrous Rod. So right here, general premise, of course, is just to go and spam Dragon Soul up as quickly as possible. Also, I just realized now I did not switch my medals. The most important medal switch that you would want to do with this particular team is 20% mana start, which I completely forgot to just switch there, but it's not too big a deal. So right here, we're going to cast Dragon Soul. Normally, I'd want to cast Dragon Soul again. However, since we are not in a state where we can go and cast Dragon Soul 3 times, due to doing difficulty 1, we'll just simply cast it again. Generally, it really depends on what the bonuses are at a given time, but difficulty 2 is probably the sweet spot for where you'd want to run Dragon Soul teams. And the main reason for this is you want to get in the sweet spot where you are casting Dragon Soul 3 times, not twice, not 4 times. Because if you cast it twice, you won't get the full capacity of souls unless you go and like do a side Ferris Raw, kind of like we had to do for that battle. And if you do it 4 times, you are just slowing it down, the rate at which you can win. They have to get that nice sweet spot of 3, and most kingdoms on difficulty 2 would end up giving you that nice sweet spot of 3. Do be wary though, some kingdoms, depending on the 10 or 20% bonuses that they have, might want to be ran on 1 difficulty instead of 2. And the main reason for this is at 2 difficulty, they might take 4 shots rather than 3. So it's just kind of something you kind of have to eyeball. After doing it for probably a few hours of soul farming, you kind of get a feel of how to do it and which one would be better at a given moment in time. And similarly, as I mentioned before, you may want to focus a little bit more on doing... you might want to focus a little bit more on doing the kingdom that you actually need your trait stones from. So obviously, even though I am doing it on a 20% kingdom right now, obviously right now, if we were to go and complete out this tier 1, you're only getting 3 to 6 myth stones, meaning we probably get like 1 extra myth stone from doing it at a 20%. So you probably want to do it if you're doing at these lower difficulties in a kingdom where you actually need the trait stones. So do consider that as you choose your kingdom if you are doing these lower levels soul farming. And other than that, the only thing I kind of want to mention, so I'll just go quick kill this real quick. So don't believe I mentioned this in a video. I might have. I think I might have mentioned it on the stream last Friday, but not in a video. But that is mainly how you can actually dodge doing lower difficulty. So you may notice right now, we are about to go and complete out a mini boss on a low difficulty. We are currently on difficulty 1, as you can see by the ridiculously low stats on our opposing team. Also, I have no clue why I chose this one, as this is actually slower than the really quick kill teams, since the stats are so low. So slight fail there. But after we go and kill this out real quick, you'll notice that we, of course, have 100 points that we can now go and use to go and unlock our mythic boss. However, obviously, we ideally don't want to do a mythic boss to slow down. We're only going to get 1 token. That would be a complete waste of our 100 mythic shards if we were to go and click that button. What you can do to avoid this, if you have ever set up any of your kingdoms like this on accident, or because you were soul farming and you finally have enough shards that you have 100, is you can go to a different kingdom. It could be any kingdom that you haven't already started or have started, and simply go to their explore and of course do it on difficulty 12. And once you get to the full completion, I can go find where we started the other one, or are we just doing it? We're doing Leonis Empire, if I'm not mistaken. So if you go to one where you already have the full completion, you'll see, of course, we're still back on the same screen. So instead of wasting our 100 shards that we have on the kingdom where we'd only get it on difficulty 1, which would only give it 1 token, we can now go and use it on our higher difficulty 1 and go do it for our 2 to 3 tokens. So this is a mechanic that you generally are going to want to use, particularly if you're soul farming, where you basically do all your soul farming on, let's say, difficulty 2. And once you finally have enough myth stones from soul farming, where you have 100, instead of going and clicking on the mythic boss, you're going to want to go and have a kingdom completed out on level 12 real quick. It will have to go away from your soul farming for a little bit, but it'll be worth it in order to go claim the higher amount of tokens, so that you don't waste a bunch of myth stones on only 1 token. So that's something to consider if you want to maximize farming low levels while still getting a decent amount of tokens. Is always make sure that you use those tokens on a higher difficulty rather than wasting it on the lower difficulty. Simply go do this, and something that you may notice right now, okay, never mind, it didn't take it away yet. We actually did the battle, but if we go and complete out this battle, that should go away on the other kingdom, so we can just go and start processing through it normally. So we'll just go and take this explosion here, go and get our Mountain Crusher, and then just go and obviously Irongut and Zuul'goth him real quick. Let's see, what do we need here? Irongut, get a Mountain Crusher. Go and get ourselves our nice little explosion, get our Zuul'goth going. Oh yeah, Zuul'goth, you can hit through the Impervious, so do that. You definitely, obviously, if you are using a Zuul'goth version of this team, you obviously want to kill out Imperviouses and things that have immune to power with your Zuul'goth, just to get it out of the way. Also, I forgot to change my medals again. Obviously, we're running with 20% mana start and 8 extra attack. That's the only really bad thing about medals, is they don't really show up on the troop menu screen or anything like that. They can be pretty easy in the current state of the game. I kind of forget to change them with your various teams. It's also a little bit unfortunate that it's not on the troop menu, kind of like where our banner and everything is as well, since that's where everything for the team, but it's not currently there. They'll probably do something to make it a little bit more accessible into the future. As it currently stands, it's a little bit annoying to constantly keep switching your badges, so you generally want to be using teams that, for the most part, use the same badges. Obviously, you don't have to, but It would save time in the current state of the game. But oh, nice token of nano, and yeah, and you can just end up doing that in order to use your shards a bit better. They end up farming off of XP farming or soul farming or whatever other reason you're full difficulty for. If we go back to KZL, this should have been reset back to normal. So right here, as you can see, you do not have enough myth stones to battle the mythic boss. Would you like to end the current explorer run? You're always going to want to say yes to this on these lower difficulties. So obviously we do not want to go and waste 100 shards just to do one token. Maybe if you're like ultra early game and you obviously can't take difficulty 12s, you might want to consider doing that. But obviously if you're just doing these lower levels for the purpose of hero class farming or XP farming or gold farming even at low range or soul farming or any other reason, but you can actually take the 12 battles, you're going to want to always use those shards on the 12 battles and simply just click yes. Do you want to reset? And boom, you just reset. And now you can go back to doing it on level 1, farm it back up. Once you get 100 again, go to a level 12 kingdom or any kingdom, do it on level 12 and you get 20% ones, and you know, just kind of keep repeating the cycle. So that's a strategy that you can use to just better use your shards as well. Anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everyone.